What's going on, world? It is your host, Serial Sensei, speaking. Just coming through with a quick disclaimer. We had a number of audio issues with this episode. I've spent 3 days editing this to the best of my ability, so I apologize for the robot voice you may hear. And also in regards to the rest in peace to Tech 9, I found out a day later, before he died, he had child porn charges against him, which I did not know about. But hey, I can't talk about what I didn't know. But that was the thing that happened. But hope you guys enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. I am your host, Serial Sensei. We are on episode number 129. As always, you can give this podcast a listen on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play. You can send questions to dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. You can hit us up on social media at the Dojo Talk Podcast Facebook page, as well as the Dojo Talk Podcast Instagram page. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Twitch at Serial Sensei. And as always, of course, I'm joined with my co-host, Antacool. What's going on, man?
It is going to be a weird episode.
Yeah, it's just for context for the listeners. We normally record on Sundays, but it is Monday, April the 1st, 8:43 p.m. And we picked like the perfect day to record late because boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a weekend.
What a week.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we might not. It's gonna be a long night. I'm probably not gonna get a lot of sleep tonight because this has been, but between fight announcements and storylines that we'll get into, and then there were like 3 major cards this weekend. There was a lot going on.
Like major is a really strong word to describe one of those cards, man.
Well, all right, we had 2 majors. All right, really the UFC card, the headliner was major. The card in total, I wouldn't say it was major.
Yeah, the only real major card this weekend was the one card.
Yeah.
The other 2 were date fillers.
Yeah, basically. They had moments, but we'll get
we are
to
in a
it. But
content era, and it doesn't matter if it's good; it just needs to be there.
Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
It's like your daily, like your favorite. I don't know. Are Let's Play still a thing? Let's go with that. It's like your daily Let's Play uploader guy. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be there.
All right, and that's. I'll give Bellator credit though. Compared to the last card, this card actually at least had some fights I was interested in seeing because that last card was oof, yikes.
Who was supposed to main event?
And
Andre Korshkov.
Yeah, which would have been a really awesome fight. But MMA injuries, such is life. Real quick before we get started, always shout outs to the listeners, everybody who posts, retweets, reposts. We appreciate you. Number 1 city for the week, Carlsbad, California. Number 2, Las Vegas, Nevada. Number 3, Murraysville, Washington. Number 4, Markham, Canada. And number 5, San Francisco, California. And then right behind them is Erickson, Canada. So appreciate you guys for listening. As always, share, tag a friend. If you like combat sports, they like combat sports, send them this podcast.
Randomly airdrop people in like your local airport.
Yeah, just
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
I was gonna say the next time you're like, you're trying to talk to a woman, or if you're a woman, you're talking to a man, you get their phone number, just like send them our podcast as like one of your first texts. It might be kind of weird, but just do it.
I mean, it's a conversation starter.
There you go. We can help you inadvertently break the ice. It might not go well, but we're trying. We're trying. Real quick before we get into news and notes, quick on a quick somber note. Won't spend too much time on this, but we're an MMA podcast, but definitely a big hip hop fan. So 2 RIP shout outs real quick. Rest in peace to the battle rapper Tech 9 from Philly, who passed I think sometime last week. I'm not even sure what he passed of. I don't know what actually happened to him, but For those who don't know, he was a battle rapper, one of the earlier pioneers of battle rap. One of his most known battles was him versus Midwest Miles. Um, so rest in peace to him. And yesterday we lost Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to him. He was unfortunately murdered, I think, like outside of the clothing store shop that he owned.
He owns that whole building, like that,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
half that complex, apparently.
yeah. And that was a really, really just unfortunate, man. I did an album review today of Little Sim's album Gray Area, and I talked more about the Nipsey Hussle uh, situation on there. So if you want to get just more thoughts, listen to that. I actually put that out today, so by the time you hear this, that episode will already be out. But quick, just rest in peace to both of those gentlemen. Really unfortunate. Nipsey was only like 33. Tech Nine, I want to say, was in his 30s. Also, just two people who left Earth like way too early, man. Just way too early. But rest in peace to those gentlemen. All right, now on to these news and notes, and boy, we got a lot. It's some heavy, it's some fight announcements this week. So I'm gonna just roll from the top. I'll try to run through these, and then we'll go back and we'll expand on some of these fight announcements because, like I said, there's some heavy ones. So UFC 239 is looking like it's they're going all out. Um, we got a host of fights for UFC 239. We got John Jones going against Thiago Santos, Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm. The next two I'm gonna name, I want to say are rumored. I don't know if they're official, but it seems like they're gonna happen. Junior Dos Santos versus Francis Ngannou, and Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. I know Masvidal and Askren agreed they wanted to fight in June. I don't know if they ever worked that date out, but it seems like that's the event that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen on. Moving to UFC 238, Henry Cejudo will be challenging for the now vacant bantamweight title against Marlon Moraes. At UFC Minnesota on June 29th, Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler will be rematching for whatever reason. We'll get back to it.
Dates need to be filled, bruh.
There are too many other. You know what? We'll leave it alone. That'd be a whole nother thing. It's too many other people in that division that these two don't. I don't see how this was like a must-happen fight. Like there weren't. I don't know. But moving on. UFC Rochester going down on May 18th. Has a few fights listed. We got Zaleski Dos Santos versus Neil Magny. And Megan Anderson will be facing off against Felicia Spencer, who, if you guys don't know, is Invicta FC's featherweight champ. So she'll be coming over. That should be pretty fun. UFC Fort Lauderdale will have Mike Perry versus Alex Oliveira, and also Gilbert Burns versus Eric Wadley. Why did I write Ray Borg versus Casey Kenny when that fight actually happened? At UFC Stockholm, we'll have Ilir Latifi versus Volkan Oezdemir, Jimmy Manuwa versus Alexander Rakic, Makwan Amirkhani versus Chris Fishgold. At UFC Ottawa, we'll have Cub Swanson versus Shane Burgos. Also at UFC 238, should have mentioned earlier, Felice Herrig versus Yao Nanyan. And at UFC 237, we'll have Francisco Trinaldo versus Diego Ferreira. And on the news tip, last article, Jose Aldo, the last I heard, he actually may be out with that knee infection. Not official yet, but just keep an eye on that. Hopefully that fight doesn't fall apart, but I don't know. I guess as of right now, it's not looking that great. In Bellator news and fight matchups, Gegard Mousasi and Rafael Lovato Jr. will get the fight. That'll be going down at Bellator London in June. And a Bellator news note, Josh Barnett has signed with Bellator. Whoop-de-woo. Another old heavyweight.
I mean, you gotta stay on brand.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm guessing like Ryzen just doesn't want to spend the money on Barnett because I'm surprised he just didn't go back to Japan.
Yeah, you would think because he would. Yeah, like he would. That would fit, but
he could use as much as he wants.
Right. Well, But Bellator are gonna Bellator. So
I have little interest in Josh Barnett, the fighter, or the person in the Euro or 2019.
yeah, I'm over it. But he's guarantee he's gonna headline an old Bellator heavyweight, an old man Bellator heavyweight fight, because that's just what Bellator does.
Like, have you heard Josh Barnett recently?
I saw some interview or something he did, I guess after the Bellator signing, and I just made the decision to keep scrolling.
Yeah, no. Let's put it this way: he fits right in with like your Chael Sonnens and Frank Mears and Tito Ortiz's when it comes to being on the mic nowadays.
Yeah, that's no
You are
bueno.
gonna get some views. I'm not talking about ratings. I'm talking about like some point of views and woof.
Yeah. I will pass on any Barnett audio clips. I'm good. The last bit of fight announcements. PFL has made some more additions to their roster for 2019. At heavyweight, they will have Satoshi Ishii. At light heavyweight, they have Jorge Gonzalez. At featherweight, they'll be having Damon Jackson, which I'm looking forward to. He looked really good the last time I saw him. Also at featherweight, they'll have Jeremy Kennedy. At lightweight, they'll have Hani Torres. And at welterweight, they will have Chris Curtis. So these gentlemen will all be on PFL's 2019 roster.
PFL has more gold medalists than the UFC right now.
Hey man, I feel like that's just the new talking point. Like you have to have that in your.
I mean, it helps, I guess, with ESPN, or like, oh, it's just a thing. Like, but then they watch Satoshi Ishii and they're like, oh, judo is bullshit.
I mean, it gives the announcers like a good. It always gives them a good talking point. But one championship does it all the time. Like every fighter is a 3-time world Muay Thai champion, and they make sure that you know about that.
My favorite was when they were literally just starting, and they just had like all the Egyptian fighters who were like national and international wushu champions, and it was like really clear that none of them have ever done anything like athletic in their life ever, let alone like compete in wushu competition.
You gotta do something to add to the.
And it's like back. It's like back in the day, like when, like in pro wrestling, where like everybody was a former like all-state record holder, like
Right.
amateur wrestler or discus thrower or whatever.
It just gotta add it. It adds to the spice of the event, and it draws you in to make you want to watch. But like by the time you finish watching, you're like, oh, this wasn't. You know, you probably didn't leave with a good impression of wushu. After you saw some of those fights.
This guy was the Indian wushu champion, but no, it turns out that he he's a carpenter. He makes chairs for a living.
They're all Frank Dukes. Oh god, everybody's Frank Dukes. All right, to go back to some of these fight announcements real quick before we move to a news story. Jones and Santos. I mean, Santos finally, the combat god is getting his chance at a chance to take the throne. This is the one chance you really need to rip the hammer off the chest, because you're definitely gonna need it.
Someone pointed this out on Twitter, but like if you look at it now, like half of Jones's like title defenses have been against middleweights. It's really bizarre because it's true.
I mean, that's what 205 has become. I mean, really,
it shows this just got bigger. Because like, all right, you got Anthony Smith and you got like Thiago Santos are dudes who moved up, but like they're dudes who probably should have been fighting at like light heavyweight the entire time. Then you got Sonnen, who, that's a whole other thing. And you got like Vitor Belfort and Leo Machida and Rashad Evans, who were at one point, the light heavyweight champion.
I mean, really, I feel like middleweight and light heavyweight are just like the old dad land where everybody's just in limbo. and you like it's like MMA purgatory. Like you're stuck in these old man divisions, and I don't know. You either bulk up and get fat and move up, or you be the lean dad bod and you stay at 185 for as long as you
There are
can.
no lean dad bobs at 185. Man.
Or all right, lean is a strong
Lean
word.
is a very strong word.
You know, you're the athlete. You got that dad bod to where I can tell you used to compete, and you're still like strong, but you don't have abs anymore.
It's like they're the dads that don't do like any of the accessory work at the gym. They just
Right.
go in and they do the lifts and then they leave.
Right.
No warm up, no stretching. You just like straight up lifting and then gone.
Right. Yeah, out of there. That's what that is. But no, I'm ecstatic that like Santos is getting a chance to just fight for a title. You know what I honestly just want from this fight? I don't know how much of a chance Santos really has to win. To be honest, I don't want to see a methodical Santos like we saw in the Yan fight. I want to see Santos just go out there and just go for broke.
I mean, that's the only way he wins.
Yeah, just throw. Like, don't caution to the wind.
Like you gotta close the distance on Jones and just go hard.
Yeah, yeah. Because really, I feel like everybody.
Somebody who just like who is just like fuck it. I'm not
Yeah,
winning the other way.
At this point, like Jones has fought a pretty good like variety of opponents, but everybody tries to go in and like implement some kind of game plan, or nobody ever really just went in there and just like, yo, I'm just gonna just try to kill you. Like
all respect in the world to Thiago Santos, that one of my favorites. But this man is not gonna outthink Jones.
Yeah, right. Like that's just not.
Jones is arguably in the cage at least, one of the smartest fighters of all time.
Yeah, you're not gonna out game plan, or that's not gonna happen. So you use what got you here. It's just brute strength and
reckless abandonment and a total disregard for what actually works in MMA.
Right.
I want to see some like spinning freaking. I want to see some rolling thunders, like just some kicks. Like one-handed capoeira cartwheel kicks.
Right. I need overhand rights that are just flying from all these weird angles that don't make sense. Just go out there and just empty the tank in the first round. Just go for it. Because that hasn't happened to Jones yet.
And to be honest, like the speed difference is where all his advantages, because like for all the success that for the one-sidedness that was the Smith Jones fight, like when Smith actually threw the overhand right, he touched Jones. Like it wasn't like he didn't land with earth-shattering power or anything, but he touched them. It's something.
Yeah. So just go for broke, Thiago, man. Like no, a loss to Jones is no shame, but just go out there, just go out on the sword and shield. This is the one fight where I'm encouraging just all-out, mindless, brainless violence. Just throw until you just can't.
Until
anymore.
The lights are out, man.
Right. just go for broke. That's all. I think that's all anybody who's a Santos fan. I think that's all we can really ask for at this point. And maybe it'll work. I don't know.
I need him to drop Jones once.
Right. Let me think for a second that you're gonna win, so I can just jump out of my seat.
I just need to show that Thiago Santos was able to do with all these other fighters have never been able to do.
Right. Like put him down one good time.
You don't even gotta really hurt him, just like a flash knockdown or something, you know?
Right. I mean, we'll see. I'm excited for that fight though. That is, I'm glad that Santos is one of those guys you gotta root for him. You gotta hope somehow he can pull this off. Chances aren't too high, but hey man, we never know. You never know. With that kind of power, good things can happen. Not saying they will, but there's a chance. And I guess real quick to skate over some of these other fights, because really this 239 card, man, there's some heat on here. Nunes and Holm, I saw people who were kind of mixed about this fight.
It's mostly because Holly Holm just keeps finding herself in title fights.
Right. I didn't realize how many she's gotten until I went and like looked at her record. Like, oh, she does. I don't know how she gets them, but she always finds her way up there.
Well, she was one of the few women willing to fight at 145. Basically it. Like I'm sure they offered other women. Like she's like what 1-3 in title fights, but like one was a defense. So like, are you really gonna count that? Um, she got the chance against Jermaine Duranamy because for whatever reason Cyborg wasn't ready. If I remember, I think that's what it was. Cyborg wasn't ready, and they didn't. Um, and then Jermaine Duranamy refused to fight Cyborg, and then that's how they ended up with her first Cyborg at 219. Like, I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Well, I, whether she deserves the title shot or not, that's one thing. But I do like. This is a matchup I've kind of always wanted to see, of how Nunes's aggression would work against Holmes, like counter striking, to see if who just really gets the better of that. And I mean, we've seen that if Holmes can take a shot from Cyborg, I mean, I'm not recommending you just go out there and try to take shots from Nunes, because we've seen obviously that don't turn out too well. But like, Holm is game enough that I think she can make this a competitive fight. I just don't know if she wins it. But I'm also interested to see if somehow if she can get out of like the first 2 to 3 rounds, because she has the tank to go all 5. And I'm wondering if maybe she could like turn it up late. I think it's an interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. I mean, I I I don't know what type of Nunes we're gonna get in this fight. Like, if it's the Nunes that fought Valentina Shevchenko, I think Holmes stands a pretty good chance of actually winning because she's a way more active than Shevchenko, she that but her style is just way more susceptible to like, I'm just gonna step in, close distance, and land this overhand right on you. You feel me?
Right.
Um, so not like, this is really, it's an interesting dynamic. It's potentially Amanda Nunes' last fight. She's saying, if I beat Holly Holm, who's really left? It's time to retire. So, um,
Caitlin Vieira will rise from the ashes.
God, Lord knows where the hell she is. Like, she tore her ACL and she's been gone since like 2017 or whatever. Um, and who knows if Aspen Ladd's gonna be able to make weight? Like, there's no telling anymore. Um, yeah, so we're kind of stuck. Like,
Yeah, that division is
so Holly Holm's
withering.
probably getting another shot.
Right.
Like, she just signed that 6-fight deal, and so
Yeah. Yes. We'll be seeing a lot more of her and more title shots. She'll be back.
they'll probably run back Holly Holm versus Jermaine Duranamy for the title.
Or that'll be another catastrophe. All I can think about for JDS and Ngannou is that if Ngannou like knocks JDS out the way he did Overeem, I might not ever be able to forgive him.
It's hard. I'm struggling to like. I'm struggling with, like, theory. For style, I think JDS is a nightmare for Ngannou. Like, somebody who will attack his body, will not stay in front of him,
Right.
will move, doesn't have to bully him like an Overeem to like get his style across, and who's like quick enough to like not be evasive, but like who can do a little bit what Stipe did with like mixing things up and creating his own openings on a Ngannou who's still not really like technically all there. At the same time, it's heavyweight, and a guy who could literally just catch JDS with like his pinky.
Right. And his head would just and it's only gonna take one. It's only gonna take one of those. Yeah, that's an interesting heavyweight fight because JDS has so many more tools I think at his disposal, but what Ngannou has just is literally just that one shot, one kill kind of power. Like, you can never be safe, you can never be comfortable. You could die at any second. JDS could be winning this fight for up until the last 10 seconds, and he might get blasted, and it'll all be over. I'm gonna be a nervous wreck that entire fight.
All 30 seconds of it.
Right.
Because the thing is, I don't think in his current, I don't think JDS knocks out Ngannou. So if he wins, it's
yeah, probably by decision.
Wait, that's at 2:39, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 15-minute affair. So
we'll see. That's gonna be it's gonna be a scary fight. And real quick before we move on to the next story, so Cejudo and Moraes. Just quick thoughts.
I'm not as down on it as everybody else is. Like, talk shit about Dillashaw looking like death all you want. Cejudo went out there and knocked out the dude who was the 135 champion. Like, I'm just sick of the seesawing with the flyweight division. Like, they're so tongue in cheek. Just make up your fucking mind, because it seems like you already have.
Yeah, cause when I saw this matchup, I was like, 125 has to be done. Like, this to me was this is the death note. Like this is the last nail in the coffin. Especially if Cejudo wins this, like it has to be over.
The thing is, if Cejudo wins, there's a good chance he doesn't make 135 ever again.
Oh no, man.
There's a good chance he just comes in his next fight overweight. Like,
right, and then we have that whole situation again.
Yeah. I think it's a fine matchup. Like, you're not gonna convince me that Mares versus Pedro Munoz would have been a better one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This has potential, I think, to be more fun, but I got my rights cleaning them. Not cleaning them as in like this is gonna be a super one-sided blowout, but cleaning them as in I think Moraes is gonna finish them and it's not gonna look pretty, like, cause I don't think Cejudo knocks. I don't think he's gonna pull off what he did on TJ on Moraes. I don't see it. But I don't know.
I can see Cejudo not ducking, but like walking straight into a head kick.
Yeah.
Sterling or something like that.
Yeah, I think like Cejudo's gonna. It might be one of those fights where Cejudo's doing good until he's just not anymore. But I don't know. We'll see. I do like the matchup, but like you, I don't like what this means for 135. To me, the writing's on the wall, and it's just 135 had enough problems with TJ, and now it's just, I don't know. Weird situation, but at least out of this, we'll have a new champ because the belt was vacated, so at least TJ didn't hold it up in that way. So we'll have a new champ at the end.
Hopefully it stops and that champion just goes on and
right, and right, and actually fights like contenders. We don't get a bunch of rematches because there are plenty of people at 35. It's not like this is a division that's lacking talent. So plenty of people down there who could put themselves in line for title shots. But yeah, that's it for fight matchups. A lot of good fights coming up in the next coming months. So the one news story, well, I'll let you handle this one. This is a doozy.
Yeah. So should we start with Conor McGregor retired?
Both stories are connected. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, this is pretty clearly like all right. So like, I want to say we should start at the beginning, and I guess that's where for like the past 4 months, there's been a pretty it's not been secret. It's been floating around like all. If you follow MMA online, you've known about this in some context. So back in December, Conor McGregor was allegedly arrested by the what are they called? The Irish Guard people, LaGuardia.
I think it's Guardia, something like that.
I'm just calling them Guard. The Irish Guard, the in connection with a sexual assault at a what was it, a hotel that he was known, like it's a hotel bar scenario where he was known to frequent near his home, like where he grew up. Um, because he was not charged with anything, and they were investigating into the situation. As far as I know, he still hasn't been charged with anything. Um, yeah, he was released basically the same day. Um, they're still investigating the everything. From what I've heard, he was there that day. Like it was confirmed by hotel staff and everything. Um, oh, sorry. But this rumor's been floating around for months. It was reported in, what was it, The Guardian or Irish Times or something like that, that a Irish sports star was arrested in connection with sexual assault. The rumor was immediately linked to McGregor because it's, like I said, it's near where he grew up. He was a known, like, frequent visitor of the establishment. But nothing has been confirmed until this past week when a New York Times story broke, connecting Conor McGregor to the arrest. Like I said, we can't even say charges because there have been no official charges levied against McGregor. But it just so happens it was the same day that McGregor decided to announce his retirement. At really early in the morning too, which was weird.
That and like it, it, it wasn't even like a long, like heartfelt. It was like, hey guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and like initially, and this is strange for a bunch of reasons. Oh god, this is such a fucking messy ass web. Um, it for starters, he announced this like was he still in Miami or was he in Ireland? And that would explain why he announced it so damn early in the morning. Um, but uh, like a week or two prior, he was talking about how he was in the negotiations for his next fight in June or July or something were going great. Um, that he was basically getting everything he wanted, and they were just looking for an opponent and a date, like a definite date. Um, and like I said, like from the sound of it, the New York Times went to his camp for a comment, and then kind of decided that I'm not gonna be fighting in these conditions, and then I'm out. And from the sound of it, it sounds like the UFC was in on it. Like I'm sure the New York Times went to the UFC for a comment, and the UFC and McGregor got their shit in order.
Yeah.
And I say this because Dana White was immediately so if your biggest star retires in the middle of contract negotiations, what is your first thought process, especially one who is as dramatic as Conor McGregor?
Yeah, I'm about to say if I'm Dana, yeah, because I didn't really think about it till now. He seemed really like, I ain't gonna say he should have freaked out, but
Well, he should have been like, no, we're still negotiating.
right, like yeah, you'd have been like, all right, like pump the
This is
brakes.
obviously like, so like there are two ways you handle that. You go no comment, or or you just outright call him on his bluff and be like, yeah, no, he'll be back when he
Right.
needs money, or
We're still trying to work out, like we'll find a way to get him back.
yeah, like this is kind of being Connor, pay him no mind. It's like it's that type of thing, like because it's like a negotiation tactic. Um, Dana's response was basically, he's making all this money, he's got the whiskey now,
Yeah, he didn't need to fight anymore.
he doesn't need to fight anymore. But like, let's just leave it alone at that. And the quickness with which he put out that statement to Junkie, who, if we're being fair, they are MMA Junkies, kind of just like the UFC's official mouthpiece, unofficial mouthpiece. A lot of they get a lot of stories that or quotes from Dana that just kind of read as a Like
Yeah.
they read that way. This sounded like a coordinated response to get responsibility. Like the UFC doesn't have to take an action because Conor McGregor is now retired. That's where my head's at. You know what I mean? They don't have to be like we're investigating the situation. They don't have to say, oh, we're gonna suspend Conor indefinitely until we get to the bottom of this of all this shit. They can just be like, you know what? He's retired. It's officially his problem. And like 6 months from now, when this goes away or it dies down or Conor gets cleared or whatever, they're free to bring him back. Because as far as I know, he hasn't even withdrawn from the USADA pool yet.
Yeah, to me, this kind of, like I said, the timing of everything is just kind of convenient. Like, I'm just going to conveniently retire, and then, like, a day later.
Not even a day.
Yeah,
6 hours later.
Right. The allegations just kind of,
They're
just
confirmed.
kind of just,
They're confirmed by like the New York Times. Like
right.
this was like Connor's team knew that like because if you're a journalist, you obviously you reach out to the team and ask for a comment before you publish a story. That's how a lot. That's how you see a lot of these media types or public figures. Like they will come out ahead of time with like a something to counteract with whatever's in the news. You feel me?
Right. This to me just says, like, all right, we knew this was coming down the pipe. Let's we gotta clean this up first, and then we can come back at a later date. Cause there's no way Conor was just like gonna up and just, you know, you're not skedaddling that quick out of nowhere unless you knew something was, you know, like you said, this has been a rumor for months. So I'm pretty sure, like,
And Conor of all people is very aware of what people are saying about him, and
right,
like
right,
even like not even in the wider context, but in like the actual MMA sphere, like our tiny bubble where we know everything that's going on, or we think we know everything that's going on anyway. So like he obviously knew this was coming. I don't think he thought the New York Times would probably get involved, um, or be the ones to break the story. I am kind of curious though why it takes like 4 months to investigate this type of thing.
yeah. Cause I was gonna, well, have they even mentioned like the victim? Has any story like? Cause I feel like all I've heard is like allegations of like the crime, like it was a sexual assault, but I haven't heard like any like stories like this happened this day and he said this and he did that. Like I haven't seen any of that.
Um, from what I've seen, like they've been keeping this airtight. Like Ireland has really strict privacy laws. Like there's a reason like why nobody was able to confirm why this was Conor McGregor is because they could get no one to say so on record. But at the same time, apparently, the guard is very like if you know somebody in the guard, you know basically what they know because same thing as knowing a cop. Like they are very much about gossip.
Right.
Um, I'm really like I don't think we actually have. Okay, here it is. The women making the allegations said they occurred at the Beacon Hotel, an establishment attached to a business park on the edge of Dublin. There is little to suggest it would be a hunt for one of Ireland's best-known sports figures, a multimillionaire with a loyal global fan base. McGregor is an occasional guest there, usually booking its sole penthouse, according to a person with knowledge of the situation. The last and most recent visit occurred in December. Um, it's called the Garde or whatever. Um, no, Nope, it's not like it. Let's see. Still, people familiar with the hotel operation speaking on the condition of anonymity. Said McGregor had visited before the night the police say the incident took place. He booked the hotel's penthouse, the only two-room suite in the facility. Police investigating the attack retrieved evidence from the room, McGregor stated, and also secured closed-circuit camera footage, according to a person with knowledge of the investigation. McGregor's wealth, Cristiano.
So is that footage of like what happened, or just like footage so they can prove like he was there?
I believe it's the latter. I don't think like if it doesn't even say like where this took place. It doesn't say if it took place in a room, if it took place at like a hotel bar or some type of deal. Oh, it was from RTE. That was where the memo leaked from. Yeah, no, it's not saying anything about the incident.
Well, I guess like you said, they definitely do a good job of keeping everything airtight. Because if this was anybody else over in America, we would have known, or at least there would have been some theories, and
we'd be on Twitter telling Dana White in the UFC to release footage.
Right, yeah,
like we does with Goodell or Goodell or whatever the hell his name is.
It'd be a much bigger deal. And the thing is, you can't speculate on what you don't know. Like at this point, we just know like there are allegations, something may or may not have happened, but I would say nobody knows anything, but the people who do know aren't really, we're not privy to that information, at least right now.
Like I'm still really curious what, like 3 or 4 months later, like why this.
Yeah, like why this took so.
Well, not even like why it took so long to get out. Like I get that, like you're still dealing with like, foreign laws and stuff like that, and like combat sports is slow. Like anything that doesn't have to do with like purses or like in ring stuff is really slow. The bubble to the top, like John Oliver did a piece on professional wrestling this past weekend, talking about like how the WWE gets away with not basically providing like health care for its wrestlers. And this has been the business practice in the WWE since like ever. Like they're all independent contractors, but they're also not allowed to compete out. Like it's like stuff like this is really slow. Like when it's not on ESPN or in your local paper every week, it's really slow to like make mainstream
media. Yeah.
Always, it still hasn't. I don't want to say the story went away just as quickly as it can, but like that's one of the benefits of being like an athlete or an athlete that doesn't compete like 80 times a year.
All right, your name isn't. He's a major star, but MMA still is kind of a small bubble in the grand scheme of things. So what's major, I guess, like in our little our little corner of the world, you know, he's no LeBron James, he's no Tom Brady.
Right. If this was LeBron James, there'd be segments running.
You wouldn't hear
every.
You wouldn't hear the end of this until it actually ended.
And even then, some like
right.
Like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather and anybody else who achieves any level modicum of like success in this this side of like sports, like it's more freak show than it's more spectacle and freak show than sporting competition.
All right.
Like I hate to say it like that, but like that's what it comes down to. Like I really do think like people kind of expect this type of behavior. Like and I don't mean like they think MMA fighters are like people like people who go out there and like sexually assault women. Maybe they do, but like
it has a stigma.
They expect carnies. That's what I'm getting at. Like like they expect you to be closer to someone like I don't know Randy Savage than to someone like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or
Yeah, it's when you think of MMA, you're not thinking of a clean cut crowd.
yeah.
Basically.
You're thinking of two multimillionaires standing on the cage, throwing money in the air. In like
It's the ultimate bro sport. That's pretty much it's the ultimate bro sport. That's pretty much the image that the average person would get. Um, I mean it's kind of hard to really comment on this story because everything is like so airtight, and there's not like a ton of really specific details to go on.
yeah, and that's a huge part of it. Like we don't even know like what the story is.
Right? Yeah. Nobody. No, there's no other than what we just really told you guys. There isn't much else really out there unless you were like in Ireland. There's not a lot to really go on, so we can't really
Like unless you were literally in the Beacon that night.
you don't know what happened. There are no theories to go on, no stories, no hearsay. It's just at this point it is just one of them stories you just kind of gotta wait until the facts eventually come out and just make a judgment call from there. But yeah, him retiring and this coming out was not a coincidence. They definitely had to have known like this might become a thing, so we probably need to, you don't want to be negotiating a fight in the middle of a rape allegation. So
Right.
you probably need to take care of that, get that
You want
squared
to be
off.
promoting a fight.
Right,
in
while
this
you have
situation.
that's not a good look.
Yeah, no. Like this is like I think the UFC. I can't even say it in this context. Because it just seems like dirty. But so I'm gonna just leave that alone about like whether the UFC needs McGregor or anything because they don't.
Yeah, the UFC doesn't quote unquote need the sport was here before him. It'll be here well after he's gone. I mean, sure, they definitely benefit from him, and he is the cash cow. He is like that guy. But it's not like if McGregor is gone, then the sport just dies. And if you're one of those people and the sport dies for you because he's gone, then I don't think you were ever really a fan in the first place, to be honest.
There'll be like here's the thing. There'll be somebody else.
There's always another guy.
Like before it was Silva and GSP, and people were like, "Who's going to replace them?" And then along came Ronda and McGregor, and maybe it takes longer to find somebody else, but we get there because there's people like fighting. Like there's just too many people who, even if they're not like us, and they sit through entire fucking cards from 7 corners of the earth.
Right.
Like they want to vicariously live through who they think is the baddest person on the planet.
Yeah. There's always another guy. There's always next up. But, we'll keep an eye on that situation as details come out, as sparingly as they are coming out. But
I'll make one last note. Here's the thing: there was an incident. McGregor's spokesperson even mentioned as much. So this is because I do see the occasional like McGregor fanatic who's just like, this is nothing, like nothing happened. It's just denying the whole thing.
Right.
Like in general, there was an incident. It does not mean,
doesn't mean the worst happened.
But there's a reason there's an investigation, and I'm assuming there's a reason it's been 3 solid months in the making.
Right, and there's a reason you had to retire, quote unquote, because of this. Something happened. To the extent we'll have to find out, but something happened, and we'll just have to wait and see whatever that is. But yeah, so that was a situation that happened, and Porzingis has the same kind of thing going on, but we're not gonna get into that because
that we saved that for the NBA podcast.
Yeah. Yikes! All I can say that's a messy messy situation. But let's talk about some fights because there are a lot of them, a ton, a horde.
And guess how many I watched? I'm just gonna heads up. I had a family reunion this past weekend in Delaware. Happened to be the same time as UFC Fight Night Philadelphia or whatever the fuck it was called. So I did not see that card live, and my plans ended up changing, so I had to drive home on Sunday in the middle of the day. And driving makes me really tired, so I immediately just fell asleep. And I've only watched like 6 fights from this past weekend. I've seen some highlights and some clips here and there from one and the UFC and a little bit from Bellator. I got to see the UFC fights that I wanted to see for the most part. So well, in theory, it should go by quickly because.
Yeah, I mean, and still, even with the 6 that you watch, between us both, we still pretty much saw everything. Cause I was in rare form this week.
Since it was a fight watching machine.
Oh yeah, I was on it. I even set my alarm at 5:45 a.m. Even though one started at 5:30. Well, the main card did, but I had to give myself like that extra 15 minutes of sleep. Like when you set the alarm on your phone and it tells you how many hours of sleep you're gonna get. Like first it said like 4:20, and I was like, nah, I need a little higher, so I had to go to like 4:35. Like that actually made a difference. But yeah, I ran off of 4 hours of sleep, and I woke up really early to watch one. But yeah, I was in rare form this week, man. I watched everything that I could. So we'll start with Bellator, which we'll kind of just breeze through because there are just so many fights to talk about, so we can't spend a ton of time on everything. But we'll do Bellator, then I'm going to completely nerd out about one championship because it was amazing. It was everything I thought it was going to be. Poor Eddie Alvarez, but we'll get to that. And then we'll obviously close out with UFC Philly card, Gaethje and Barboza. But real quick, Bellator had a card that went down this weekend. This was Bellator 219. Was originally supposed to be headlined by Koreshkov and Larkin, but Larkin got injured, so Koreshkov got to face Michael Jasper, but he didn't get the main event slot, which I'm just now realizing. They took his main event slot from him, but for good reason. Bumped up, promoted to the main event was Brandon Gertz and Sada Wad. So quick disclaimer, I watched this card, but I didn't rewatch any of these fights. So I'll just start from the top. Brandon Gertz and Sada Wad was actually a really awesome fight. I thought Awad looked really good in those first couple rounds. He was bouncing around, had a lot of movement. They both were landing. This fight went the way I think most people thought it would. But I thought Awad looked really good in the first couple rounds. I want to say almost that I thought Awad won this fight, but like I said, I didn't get a chance to rewatch it because I'm seeing the scores and like Gertz got a 30-27, which I think is crazy. There's no way he won every single round. But it was an awesome fight nonetheless. Go on the Bellator app or on the website. You can rewatch it. It was a really awesome fight. Dude just went back and forth. It was a Gertz and a Wad fight. It went kind of the way you would picture it going in your head. Daniel Strauss moving on to the co-main event fought Shane Crutchin. This is actually at lightweight. Cool to just see Strauss back in the cage because he's coming back from that motorcycle accident, and that was a whole situation, and they didn't know if he was going to fight again. But he came back. Just looked like he was just trying to get his feet back under him. I think he dropped Crutchin with like a left. It was a really slick because I think he slipped the punch and then he caught Crutchin with a left. Ended up choking him out. So it was just awesome to see Strauss like back in the cage. He was really emotional after he won because these last couple years have been like really, really, really rough for him. So it was cool to just see him come back on the stage, get a nice win, get a finish. And I think he said he's definitely going back to 45. He just took this at lightweight, but he's trying to get another title run going. But that was a good performance. Go back and watch that. Koreshkov and Jasper. I think this was Jasper. I don't know if it was Jasper's Bellator debut. I think it was. Might be wrong though. But it, one of those fights where you just realize like there's levels to this. Koreshkov was just kind of better all around. But I give Jasper credit. Like I think this was his debut, and for Koreshkov to be like a first opponent, that's tough. That's a hard outing. And I mean he made it competitive. It wasn't. Koreshkov did get 30-27s across the board, but like when you watch the fight, it wasn't like it was a super wash. Like he killed Jasper, had him knocked, and almost dead every round. But Koreshkov is just Koreshkov. Like he's the top guy for a reason, and it is what it is. And then closing out the main card, Joe Schilling versus Keith Berry. It was cool in this fight just to see. It looks like Schilling has been working on his ground game. He was able to get out of some bad spots. Did pretty good with the striking. Wasn't really a crazy fight, but it is what it is. So Joe Schilling got that W. I didn't watch any of the prelims, but just some fights that maybe might interest people. Janae Harding beat Marina. How do you say her last name? Moknatika. Yeah. I'm gonna butcher that no matter how many times I try. But Janae Harding won a unanimous decision. David Rickles came down in his Austin 316 gear. He knocked out AJ Matthews. And Sean Bunch defeated Dominic Mazzata via unanimous decision. So go back, you can watch the Bellator card. Either watch it on the Zone or you can watch it on Bellator.com. Either or. The main card was pretty good though, so I would at least recommend. Go watch Gertz and Awad because that was awesome. And watch Strauss and Crutchin if you're a Strauss fan. It'll put a smile on your face.
It's really funny because AJ Matthews was gonna fight like Gegard Mousasi at one point, like not officially, but like that was the plan. Like you do the Mousasi Carvalho fight, and then AJ Matthews would fight like the winner, or he'd get a fight and then fight the winner. And then he went to Ryzen and got his shit beat up, and he's just been on a slump ever since.
Yeah, and they threw him on the prelims.
Post-limbs.
The post-limbs. I forgot.
Like, does Bellator realize that they run on Fridays and that nobody wants to be there?
So I'm just now clicking a dot in my head that because this is labeled post-liminary. Because when I watched this on the Zone, I wanted to see Gertz and Awad. So when I went to the stream, because they don't normally the first stream they put up is just a card and whole. So when I went to the stream, I immediately scrolled to the end because I wanted to see Gertz and Awad, not knowing that.
And to see Sumi
Right.
versus Eugene Carrera.
I fast forward to the end. I'm like, who is this Joe Schmo guy on my screen? Who is this high school wrestling coach? Get out of here. So yeah, that was weird. I've never heard of post limbs like that's.
Game. That's how they make sure the audience doesn't leave during the main event when it's just two random dudes.
That is crazy. Yeah, that was wild. But that was Bellator 219. Like I said, go back and watch on the app. The main card is at least worth a watch. Prelims, I can't say one way or another. There were a couple of finishes, some KOs, so I don't know. Maybe those were good, but I didn't see them, so I can't really speak on them. But the main card, I think, was at least worth a watch, especially Gertz and Awad. That was a pretty good fight. So that was Bellator 219. Moving on, man. One championship, a new era. I was really hyped for this card. Like I said, I set my alarm. I thought I was going to miss this card because I thought it was actually Friday going into Saturday. But it was Saturday going into Sunday, which was great because I'm off on Sundays. Because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to see this card in real time. But I set my alarm Saturday night for 5:45 a.m. And off of 4 hours of sleep, I woke up, got on the app, put the phone in my face, and I just watched greatness.
Like you watched this on the Bleacher Report app, right?
No, they had it on the one app too.
Right, so you didn't have to, because I thought the whole point of the Bleacher Report thing was so you paid to watch it.
Oh no, I paid nothing.
So the deal with Bleacher Report was literally nothing then, because you could still watch the whole damn thing for free.
That's the thing. I still don't really know.
Like I don't. Well,
Yeah, I don't know what the Bleacher Report. Like I don't know. I spend every card trying to figure out like
what
because I even
the
saw
hell
people
did
on
they
Twitter they weren't
sign?
right. Like I don't.
Like they get to they get to run their cards on their app. They get to run their cards on like TNT for an hour. What like at 4:30 on a Tuesday morning? Like what the hell?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, every one card because I saw a lot of confusion on Twitter too because people in the U.S. we like a lot of them because when the initial card announcement came out like they made it clear how people overseas were gonna watch it but nobody knew in America like are we on the app are we on Bleacher Report like what's going on but no this actually was on I think it was on Bleacher Report and it was on the app
That
so
explains why they uploaded a lot of those fights to to
the
YouTube.
YouTube channel yeah so fast because no yeah normally they wait a couple days. Um, but yeah, the one championship, new era. I mean, if you're in the know, if you pay attention to one championship, you've known for a while that this card was like a really big deal. A lot going down, a lot of, this was the premiere of DJ and Eddie Alvarez, and they threw all the stars in on this card. And I'm not saying this just because I love one, but this was easily to me the best card this weekend. Like I think Barboza Gaethje was like the moment of the weekend. But in terms of just good fights from top to bottom, this easily was better than the Barboza Gaethje card, and it was definitely better than the Bellator card. Um, I'll try not to spend too much time because you know, I think you said you saw some highlights.
I saw Eddie die.
Yeah, well, we'll we'll get to Eddie in a little bit because other than that, it's really just going to be me nerding out about how good this card was. But I'll say that just in general, like if you didn't get a chance to watch One Championship, A New Era, please go back and watch this card. It is. I can't speak on the prelims because I've only watched one of them, and I need to go back and watch more because Rod Tang fought and Mei Yamaguchi fought, and I got to check them out. But the main card was super fire, man. Main event, Shinya Aoki, Edward Foliang. This actually might have been one of the few fights that I didn't go back and rewatch, probably because it only lasted a round. But man, I mean, this was just kind of an Aoki fight. Like he came in, he he went to work real quick. He did Aoki things. We know what his game plan is. It's no mystery as to what Aoki's trying to do. Um, and he just went and got an arm triangle choke in the first round. It was funny because I heard people on Twitter were saying that the translator like butchered his post fight speech when he was translating because apparently there was a whole section where he mentioned that he destroyed his house and the translator just like completely just didn't even say it. Like apparently there was some wild stuff going on in that speech and they just like omitted it out.
Chatri's like I imagine that has something to do with Chatri's continued push that one is where true martial artists go, and that the West has ruined the spirit of martial arts. And Shinya Aoki's out here throwing water bottles at like Tetsuya Kawajiri at Rising, flipping people off in the ring, and like breaking people's arms, and apparently destroying his own house.
Yeah, they can't promote that kind of savagery, that realness.
I mean, it's not like they were in Japan where everybody understood what the hell he said.
But nah, man, Aoki went in. He's now I think it's the second time he's had the lightweight title.
Yes.
So that's
second
good.
Or third?
I think it's the second.
All right.
I think it's the second. But either way, like he's a multiple champion in one. He's getting older in his career, but he's still, in terms of one, competing with the top guys, and he got a belt again. So that was just an awesome way to cap the card. And it was a quick, it was a really quick fight. It didn't last that long. So you can go back and rewatch that. The co-main event, man. Zhang Jingnan and Angela Lee. This was probably the fight I was like most hyped to see. This fight went. The person who I thought would win did win, but the way the fight played out was not how I saw at all. But probably a bad analysis on my part. I probably shouldn't have been super surprised. Zhao Jingnan, really just strong, straw weight, like really powerful. Angela Lee coming up from atom weight. I was like, I don't know if she's gonna be able to deal with the power.
I just want to point out, Angela Lee's not like.
Yeah, and I know where you're going, and I realized that as soon as they started fighting, like when they had the face off, I was like, oh, Angela Lee's actually bigger than she is.
Angela Lee's like the one fighter and one who's allowed to cut weight.
Like I mean, I know Angela Lee's like compared to the other women, like she's taller than most of the other ones, but like she was definitely bigger, like way bigger than Jingnan was. So I was like, oh, now I know what the anti-school's talking about. She is huge.
Yeah, no, she is. The fact that like she is a decent sized strawweight, like she is not. She has no atom weight. Like I don't know. Like maybe it's because she was like when they weren't allowing weight cuts, she was like 105 or whatever. But by the time she was champ, like dude, there was no way she was not cutting significant weight to make like 115.
Right. But nah, this fight, man, Angela Lee just seems to find herself in just like the Mei Yamaguchi fight was like a classic, and this is right up there, man. She looked really good in pretty much like 90% of this fight, man. She was moving well. Her striking looked really improved. What I didn't take into, I guess, like my breakdown, the way I thought this fight would go, is that like Angela Lee is much more well-rounded. Zhao Jingnan, like she can wrestle. She's a power hitter, but Angela Lee, her striking has been getting better, but she also has like a pretty slick ground game. So Angela Lee just seemed to have way more tools in the toolbox for the first couple rounds. But Jingnan wasn't going away. Like she was getting hit, she was getting taken down, getting out of bad spots. Angela Lee was definitely winning, but Jingnan was not going away. And the turning point in the fight was in the fourth round where after Angela Lee's like she's looking really good, everything's going well. In the fourth round, she goes for this arm bar, and I don't know how Jingnan got out of this because Angela Lee put her mind, body, and soul into this arm bar, and Jingnan just somehow found a way to get out of it. And I think Lee, that energy she spent on that arm bar, that was just like the last bit of energy she had in her, because the fifth round started and she was so flat. Like everything she had, she put into that armbar, and when she didn't get it, man, Jingnan, like I said, she didn't go away in the fight, and she poured it on Lee in the first round. Like Lee wasn't really moving that well. She just started like putting her back against the cage, and Jingnan just started lighting her up. Like all those punches that weren't landing in the first couple rounds, or that Lee was able to take, she couldn't take them. She was getting tagged. And then Jingnan started doing body work, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. She caught Lee with like a straight right down to the body, and Lee just kind of like, ugh, like she gave one of them crumples, and she just backed up, and Jingnan just started just blasting her, just headshots, body shots. She kicked her in the stomach like twice, and then the ref calls it off, and Jingnan just pulls off this crazy comeback. Amazing fight. Definitely one of the best fights this year. Just amazing fight. Can't say enough good things about that one. So go back and watch Zhang Jingnan versus Angela Lee. Just amazing fight and great comeback from Jingnan to just hang in there for the entire fight and then find a way to end it in the fifth when it really counted. Moving on to the next fight, Ong Lasong and Ken Hasegawa. This was a rematch from their fight that happened, was that 2018? That was last year, right? I get my years mixed. It was either last year or the year before. Whatever year it was, I had it in my honorable mentions of fight of the year. This fight was not like the first one. It wasn't a back and forth barn burner. Ong Lasong was pretty sharp in this fight. Hasegawa had moments, But Ong Song was able to put pressure on him, and he was landing that straight. He landed the straight right, and he was landing these body kicks that were just money every time he threw them. And yeah, Hasegawa died by a straight right. He got rocked a number of times in this fight actually, but the last straight right just the lights just went out. Like he threw the straight right, and I think he actually I don't know. I need to watch the replay because it kind of looks like he almost Ong Song like stepped on Hasegawa's foot, so like he couldn't move backwards. So when he threw the right, like Hasegawa couldn't get out the way, like he was just kind of stuck, and he ate that right, and he just died.
That's some slick work.
Yeah. And so Ong Song defended that belt, and it seems like verbal agreement. Ong Song will be fighting Brandon Vera at 205. I think it was at 205. So that'll eventually be a fight. It seems like.
Really, I thought Brandon Vera was like the heavyweight champ.
He is, but he has nobody to fight.
So I hope Ong Song wins.
I almost wish it was at heavyweight just so Ong Song could have 3 belts. But
True GOAT.
Yeah, that's super GOAT super GOAT status. But either way, great performance from Lasong. He shut the lights out on that one. The next fight, really unfortunate because it was really awesome up until it ended. Bibiano Fernandez and Kevin Bellignon fighting for like the 3rd time, I want to say. For the bantamweight title. I don't remember this fight in a ton of detail because this was one of the few I didn't actually get to go back and rewatch. But it was a pretty awesome fight. They were going back and forth, just really going at it, and it was really fun to watch. And then unfortunately, in round 3, Bellignon was going for some ground shots. He tried. I guess he was trying to catch Fernandez behind the ear, but he ended up hitting him like right in the back of the head. They had to stop the fight. Bibiano was furious. And after all this yelling and just, deliberation, the fight ends in disqualification. It was the one fight that the ending just kind of sucked the air out of the night because the card up to that point and afterwards was just really awesome. And then that kind of happened. It was like, you hate to see a fight end like that. But, yeah, I guess Bibiano was the official champ because it was DQ, but I don't even remember him really like being happy about it. He was angry. He did not like that back of the head shot. But that fight was just awesome until it ended. Until it wasn't a thing anymore. So I don't know. We might get Fernandez Bellignon 4 at some point. But moving down, Mighty Mouse made his debut against Yuya Wakamatsu. Another really fun fight. I thought this was good, at least on Wakamatsu's part. He definitely lost. He got his neck like almost ripped off. But I think at least, to be a dude that young fighting DJ, I can only ask but so much of you. I thought he did a good job at least holding his own until it was kind of over. Like, DJ did a good job. He would, like, land a right hand and just shoot him for a takedown. Really just relentless pressure with his wrestling. There were a couple moments in the second where Wakamatsu would stuff a takedown. He caught DJ with a couple of good rights. I feel like in the second round, like, Wakamatsu just got angry, and he really started to go for it. But unfortunately, he got too aggressive. He ended up getting taken down. And it was just a really fun fight to watch. Like, DJ looked really good. Wakamatsu made it competitive enough that it was interesting. But in the end, DJ's wrestling and his speed was just way too much. And that guillotine was nasty. Like, he tried like a Mortal Kombat finisher. Like, he was about to rip Wakamatsu's neck off.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Fucking to murder half these people.
Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty what he's gonna do to a lot of these people. And real quick, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but y'all got me out here defending DJ, and I'm not even like I've been a DJ hater like most of my life, but I had to defend DJ after this because I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about, oh wait, like sarcastically saying like, "Oh, way to cement your legacy, going over to one to fight a bunch of bums." Just stuff like that. It's like, guys, like, really, is what we're doing now? Like, we're gonna act like everything he did prior is just erased because he's fighting in another organization now. Like, just stop, just just stop. And as we saw with Eddie, which we're about to get to next, fighting in other organizations doesn't guarantee you're about to win and you're just gonna steamroll everybody. Um, you can go to another organization, you can get washed. Um, yeah, that's the thing that happens. The other organizations does not mean you're immune from catching these hands or feet or variety. Um, there are great fighters all over the world. I'm not saying that one overall is like better in UFC in terms of talent, but don't think for a second that some of their guys couldn't compete in the UFC. I'm not saying they'd be champions, but just because you're not in the UFC, we've had this conversation thousands of times on this podcast. You not being in the UFC does not mean you're not a good fighter. Everybody had to start from somewhere, and I feel like
this argument seems asinine because like Eddie Alvarez became UFC champion after losing to Michael Chandler, obviously, honestly, like twice.
right.
Like, as much as a monopoly as the UFC has on talent, it's more just established talent than anything else. Like, they own all the lineal titles and all the names that you know. Like, I'm sure Timothy Nastyukin would be a fine, like, lightweight.
Right. And to keep it a buck, because I feel like people are being really hypocritical. You can't, in one breath, say that and love Justin Gaethje. Because Justin Gaethje did not start in the UFC. If you've known Justin Gaethje and you've been following him, he was doing all that violence he's been bringing to the UFC. He was doing that in World Series of Fighting way back when. That's always been
Immediately
a thing.
got to the UFC and knocked out a borderline top 5 guy.
Right. So that argument over with. But moving on, boy.
Just real, before we move on completely, like I think if anything, recent years have just kind of shown that like match styles make matchup way more than we even previously thought.
Yeah.
Like now we see dudes come into UFC and beat guys all the time, like established dudes who
Right.
like they have no business beating.
Yeah, it's styles making matches. Moving on, Timothy Natyukin and Eddie Alvarez. I mean, to be fair, we said on this podcast when they announced the participants in the Grand Prix that this was not going to be a cakewalk for Eddie through this tournament at all. Like, there were some killers all across the Grand Prix. By no way was he going to come in here and just mollywop people.
I will say, if this was like so much of Eddie's style is relying on him like being in this like in a fight where he is just vulnerable to being hurt. Where like and like I think like it'd be similar if it was a guy like Tony Ferguson or something like that. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
who just for whatever reason just goes out there and gets his ass beat in the first round of like every fight he's ever in. Like this dude almost got stopped by Lando Venata. But then like a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov, I feel like he probably would run through this tournament, just because stylistically, his entire style is built around dominating guys as opposed to like fighting them on their terms, which is what Eddie Alvarez likes to do.
Oof.
And I just you get hit clean, like in a position where like I'm assuming Nastyukin's team was realized like okay when he likes to like just the setup that Alvarez likes to do for when he's fighting in the pocket. And they were like, if we double this up here, we're going to be able to connect on them, and it was just enough to put him away this time.
Yeah, and Eddie Eddie really he didn't really have many moments in this fight. Like, I mean, he landed some shots. He did a lot of feigning, just Timothy would blitz him, they would reset and kind of go through the same thing over again. But Eddie just never really, he didn't really even get to show much. Like by the time the fight really like got started, he got blasted, and it was over. Like it was just, yeah, um, yeah. I don't really know what else to say. Like,
Really have anything else to say about it?
yeah, Eddie's like it's like you said, Eddie's style just it's exciting. It's like must see TV, but it lends itself to these kind of results can happen because of just of how he fights. Like you're prone to get caught with a right hand, and then you get backed up, and then you just get swarmed, and it's over.
Like this dude who almost got knocked out by like a tricky pit back in Bellator. Like
Yeah, yeah, it is what it is. And like we said, man, that lightweight is the best division, and it's not just in the UFC. Like in MMA in general, like pretty much every MMA promotion has a really good lightweight division. Like it's killers everywhere. And yeah, Eddie his one debut did not go the way he probably thought. Yeah. Um, Life happens fast, bro. It happens really fast. So Timothy will be advancing on. I'm pretty sure we'll see Eddie again, but you know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Yeah, he'll be back. he'll, he'll be back. Now I'm worried about Sage. Sage, don't go out there and get Eddie. Don't
he's a grown man now.
But yeah, man. I mean, it was a fun fight though, but you know what Eddie Alvarez fights, just they can go either way because of how he fights, and it is what it is. But shout out to Timothy, you got a good name on your record. Hey man, good luck in the rest of the tournament. And closing out the main card, Yatsen Clyde Fairtex versus Andy Sauer. This is the one kickboxing match on the card. Yatsen Clyde dropped Andy within like a minute. To me, this fight just seemed like not much of what Sauer threw really affected Fairtex, and when Fairtex threw, he was throwing heat, and eventually it just became too much. He knocked Sauer down in the second. He ended up getting back up, but the ref waved the fight off. To be honest, I think if that fight had kept going, the inevitable was going to happen anyway. Yatsen Clyde is a beast. I don't think Andy really wanted that smoke. Um, yeah, that fight would have. I think that fight would have ended that way regardless. But that main card was just amazing, just awesome from start to finish. Like I said, outside of the Fernandez Bellingham fight, just kind of ending the way it did, that main card was awesome. Just lots of great finishes, just really good fights overall. I think one, like I said, I don't know how much money they make from these cards, but just from an entertainment standpoint and a fight quality standpoint, they knocked it out the park with this one. This joint was flames all the way through. And prelims, I'll just mention a few. Didn't get to watch all but one. Danny Kinya defeated Senzo Akita. I'm just going to mention the fights that other people told me were cool. Rodtang defeated Hakeem Hamet via split decision. Mei Yamaguchi submitted Ksenia Lachkova via armbar. And I did get to watch Gary Tonin. He beat Anthony Englund via TKO. Tonin pretty much took him down. Had some pretty good ground and pound. Really active on the ground. I like that he was really like passing guard, advancing position. He just took him down and beat him up. That was pretty much it. And ended up beating him up and getting the TKO. He is now, I want to say, 4-0, I think, in MMA. So, but yeah, that was one championship new era. It was a really amazing card. If you didn't get to watch it, just go back and just watch greatness. That card was awesome. It was so. I wish I could elaborate more, but we got three. We had to cover three cards, so because this card was just, it was so good. It was so good. So go back and watch that. All right, moving on to the main event of the evening, UFC Philly, Barboza versus Gaethje. We were waiting for this violence for a long. Oh, all right, we weren't waiting for it for a long time, but
I mean, like if we're being real, like this was Gaethje's first. Gaethje called out Barboza in his when he got signed to the UFC.
yeah,
This
and
is why.
yeah, you got to speak what you want into existence, and uh, yeah, yeah. You know what? I rambled for a lot, so I'll let you head this one off. What were your thoughts on the violence that we witnessed?
It took me 15 seconds to realize that Edson Barboza was way in over his head and was about to get his ass beat off him. It's really funny. Like I said, I was like at a family reunion the night of the fight, and I was like, huh, it's about time for like the Barboza Gaethje fight, and I turned on my phone, which was at like 2%, and thank God this fight only lasted like a minute, because as soon as Gaethje did like knocked Barboza like out and did the cage, my phone instantly died.
It couldn't process the violence. It was
It
too
was
much.
too much. Like once, once Barbosa just decided that he was going to do the whole Hindenburg, I'm gonna plant my feet and throw 3 punches back, and now get the guy to leave me alone. It was pretty much over because it was just a matter of time before Gaethje connected on something mean and just knocked him the fuck out.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, just to get like, I feel really bad for Edson Barboza because like this and welterweight are the only divisions where there are guys like a Gaethje, like a Tony Ferguson, like a Kabir Nurmagomedov, and a Kevin Lee. And I guess at like 170, those guys would be like Usman, Covington, RDA, who are just like really aggressive and can march you down and get rid of your best weapon and just turn you into a panic out boxer, which is what he kind of became, which is how he ended up getting knocked out.
It's like these are the guys that will like always stop him from competing for a title.
Yes, like
Because
if this man fought any division below
right, he's fighting for a
155
belt.
or above 170, like he's championship material. Like I think a fight between a 185 size Edson Barbosa and a fight between um and what's his name, Robert Whitaker. I think that's a fight that Barbosa could win.
Right.
But like at this division, like it's just so like where else is there a Justin Gaethje? Like the closest is John Lineker, who's like 5'2".
Right. You know what I didn't take into account that I realized the first like 10 seconds of this fight? Gaethje is probably the first person Barboza has fought who leg kicks just as hard as he does.
Yeah.
That for some reason that my mind that completely slipped my mind because the first couple seconds of this fight was just them exchanging leg kicks, and I was like, oh, Barboza's never felt that before, probably. Like nobody's willing to exchange leg kicks with him and really just go kick for kick like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like you don't concede when one guy theoretically has the advantage over the other. Like at the other, you don't concede with that weapon or at that range or whatever. Like um, so we saw Alexander Gustafsson in the first Jones fight where he was just kicking with Jones, and Jones, like who's ever kicked with Jones before? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you don't concede, like especially if it's something you're good at. Like Justin Gaethje, legit top 5 leg kicker in the sport. Do like you how many dudes you know will get a double collar tie and just leg kick you from there?
Right. And yeah, but say if you guys watched, because I don't think he has done it as much in his UFC career. I think this probably the most I've seen him throw leg kicks. But I mean, he has thrown them. But like, if you watch his fights in World Series of Fighting, he was battering people with leg kicks, like straight up Jose Aldo style. Like you can't walk after the fight is over. Like he, I mean, I think this fight kind of went the way we predicted. Like eventually, just Gaethje's pressure would just be too much. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think it'd only be one round. I thought Barboza would at least make it to a second, but
Yeah, like Barboza, dude, like for as much crap as Barboza gets for like for being susceptible to these types of guys, like he's the same dude who went the full fight with Khabib and who, you know, up until the very last round was beating Tony Ferguson's ass.
right.
And you know, what was it doctor stoppage in the Kevin Lee fight?
I thought he got finished. I can't remember.
Point being, it's late round.
Right, he was like, yeah, he was going. He
Like
was
the only
dragging
time
the fight out.
the only time we've seen him get like stomped early is the Varner fight, and I think even that went to the second round, right? And that was so long ago. It has like good old bearing.
Right, on what would happen now, but, oh, yeah, get and what I thought Gaethje did good was like he put pressure on Barboza, but I don't think he was like super reckless.
Oh yeah, no, this was the best all around performance from Gaethje we've seen, and you know part of that is that the style matchup really played to him well here, and like some of that is just like he seemed more willing to just like get out of the way of things. Like
Right, because
there was a sequence where Barboza threw like 4 or 5 kicks, and like instead of just doing the Justin Gaethje thing and plowing forward, he was just like, nope, I'm gonna step back real quick and then step right back into range.
right, he knew when to be aggressive and when to let off, and I mean he would only let off for like a second, and then he'd be right back in your face, but you know, previous Gaethje would just literally, I'm just gonna throw until one of us ain't standing no more. And I'm telling you, a smart Gaethje is terrifying. Like a Gaethje who's actually doesn't lose like his cool and just doesn't go in there and just wings it. Like a Gaethje who actually is even just somewhat methodical. That's frightening because his skill set is already like elite level. You don't want that on top of, oh, he's actually thinking about what he's doing now. He's not just winging punches until either I get knocked out or he gets knocked out. That's a scary guy. That's yeah, because even in just the exchanges they had when like Barboza would throw three and then he would fire back, he got the better of most of them. He got clipped a couple of times, but he got the better of most of those exchanges. And when it didn't go well, like I said, he got out the way. And really, that last shot he caught Barboza with, I think he kind of just caught Barboza slipping. Like when Barboza tried to circle out, he just had his hands down. Like he just wasn't ready. And that right hand came and boom.
Well, he got Gaethje to shell up, and like I think he took that as his like cue to skedaddle, lead the exchange, and Gaethje was just like, nope, stepped into the hole he made and just punched the shit out of him.
Yeah, man, Gaethje is that dude, man. He is scary. He is scary good. Like, and it's weird because you look at him, he's not like a physically intimidating guy. It's not like he's super cut or like crazy muscular or anything like that. But you just watch him fight, and it's like, bro, I don't want none of these problems. Like, I don't want to deal with any of that. Um, I don't know who he fights next. Um, I know he said something about Cerrone in the post interview. He was mad about how they were ranked. Um, but I don't
No
know.
such thing as a bad Justin Gaethje fight.
Nah, not at all. And I mean, whoever gets him next, man, good luck to you, my friend. Um, real quick before we move on, just a hypothetical. How do you think he would do against Habib? Because we don't see it. Like I said, we mentioned this plenty of times. Gaethje is a really good wrestler. He just firsthand.
In theory.
And well, yeah, he hasn't fought Habib yet, so.
I mean, I'd be down for it. Like, how does Khabib deal with Gaethje's pressure? I do think Khabib gets him down. Like the high guard thing just throws me off completely because, like, okay, Khabib's really fast, and like for whatever reason, the majority of his career, people just like really underrate him as an athlete. Like, if you let him get underneath you, he's taking you down.
Yeah, it's over.
My thought process is, okay, Gaethje tries to close distance, Khabib throws out the jab, Gaethje pulls the high guard, and then Khabib just runs him into the ground with a double leg. I mean, I'd be interested to see how those clinch exchanges would go, because well, Khabib's very controlling. Like, Gaethje is just capable of incredible feats of violence,
Right.
from even like chest to chest. So, I don't know. I favor Khabib heavily. Like, I don't think I could talk myself into picking Gaethje, but I'd love to see how that matchup played out on the feet. Before Khabib got him down.
Yeah, 'cause, and Habib got hands now. That's Habib out here boxing people up. I see the videos out there. He's working on it. he's working on it. But nah, Gaethje, man. Boy, that's a violent man right there. I posted on Facebook, man. Bar none. That's the most violent guy in MMA. That you don't want that. Like, even if you win, like, you're gonna feel that the next morning, and it's not gonna feel good. Like, everything on you is gonna just be in excruciating pain. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. He's never gonna give you an easy night out. That guy's gonna be in your face the entire time. He's not gonna let you breathe until you either kill him or he kills you.
Real quick, there was a good article from ESPN. I don't remember the author, the writer's name, but he spoke to two former Gaethje opponents and two former Edson Barboza opponents, and they just talk shop about, like, what's it like to eat the leg kicks of, like, this man. And for Gaethje, they talked to Dustin Poirier, and he was like, yeah, no, the leg kicks were the most painful thing I've ever experienced while fighting.
Some guys, man, you just don't you just don't want that smoke with. But real quick before we move along, shout outs to Barboza and congrats. I heard he like right after the fight, his kid was born, and he actually got home in time to like see it.
Oh, sweet.
So that's awesome. If there's a silver lining to.
Oh, he's from Jersey, I think. Well, no, he's in AT&T now. Never mind. I was gonna say, like, he's in Jersey. He's like right. You cross the bridge and she's probably right home. But
so that's awesome. There's a silver lining. He lose the fight, but you get to see the birth of your child.
And you got 50 G's.
Right. That always helps. Pampers are very expensive. Very, very. So shout outs to Barboza and Gaethje. It was a violent fight, just like we thought. It ended real quick. Because Gaethje's that dude, man. How was this fight the co-main?
Because ESPN cards don't matter when it comes. Like, for real, why? Like, you're going to get an audience of like 1.5 million plus, and they're going to be sports fans because they're going to be sports fans looking for stuff to watch on a Saturday night. Why is Hermanson brand like?
Yeah, that is wild.
So you put Gaethje in your main event, and that makes sense. And you put Waterson and Kovacevic on the main card because Waterson's a marketable fighter. And Kovacevic has like a solid fan base. And you put Sadiq Youssef and Shayman Moraes on the card because, like, fun featherweights. One's a really good prospect. Why is Jack Hermanson and David Branch here?
Yeah, that's and I stand for David Branch, but I didn't even realize this until I'm just now looking at the order of the card. Like, this got the co-main. But anywho,
I think it just comes back to they don't really care like about the undercard for a lot of these ESPN cards. It's not a good sign, by the way. But whatever.
yeah, well, the fight didn't last long at all. Hermanson went out there, you know, like
I watched the fight right before we started recording, and all I remember is David Branch trying to stand up into a guillotine and
yeah,
succeeding.
which is it's not the idea. That's not what you're supposed to do. But not the best sub defense from David Branch. He escaped right into a guillotine, pretty much. Um, it's not a lot to break down in this fight. he just he got put in a bad spot and didn't do himself any favors in getting out, and just kind of walked right into a guillotine. And
1 year ago, David Branch beat the guy who's about to fight for the light heavyweight title and knocked him out in like less than 3 minutes.
And now he's losing to Jack Hermanson, who I'm assuming by the time of this recording or whenever the rankings come out, will have a number by his name. Because David Branch was ranked and he was not. So
what a bizarre ass sport.
Right. But shout outs to Hermanson, man. Like that's a pretty big win. In a co-main event on the ESPN card, and he made quick work of it. So, I like Dave Branch a lot. He's the homie, but Hermanson did his thing. I can't really
Do you
hate.
think David Branch ever just sits around and just like, I could have stayed in WSOF and got paid $1 million? Or you think he's just like, no, F that. I get the co-main event ESPN.
Yeah, where Reebok get $4,000 checks. Jeez. Dave Branch, if you had stayed at 205 at PFL,
you stayed at 205 in the UFC.
See, right.
you could have been Anthony Smith.
Oh boy, Dave Branch. He's still the homie, man. I like Dave Branch, but yeah, Hermanson got him out of there real quick. Not a lot to break down. He stumbled into a guillotine, and bad things happen when you stumble into guillotines. So that's how that fight went. Moving on to the featherweight division, Josh Emmett versus Michael Johnson.
Great job, Michael. You did it.
This fight, man. Things are always going well, so they're just not. So just bad things eventually happen. Life just happens fast. 1 minute you're having a great second round, you're boxing somebody up, you're moving, you're laughing, you're bouncing around and throwing good combinations, and life is just sweet. And then the third round happens, and the other guy's like, you know what? I probably need to get a finish because I don't know what these judges are thinking. It could be 1-1. I might be down 2-0, so I need to just go in there and do what I can do to get a finish. And, he closes the distance. He gets in, throws a right hand. You ain't ready for it. Whole chin gets knocked off. And, it is what it is. Before this fight happened, I tweeted I wanted Michael Johnson to knock Emmett out, but this is MMA. You don't get what you want in the sport. MMA gods don't work that way. And Michael Johnson got flatlined in the third round.
Oh boy, he sure did. Oh, God. I feel like this fight could not have been more predictable. And while I was in and out while this fight was live, I'm like, and I knew Johnson was up just from like looking at the fight and just like looking at the way they were moving. I'm just like, dude, he's gonna get knocked out, isn't he?
It was going too well.
It was going too well, and like you could feel it. was in the air.
It was going too well, and he was having too good a time. Cause like I said, in that second round, he was bouncing around, he was laughing and making sound effects, and it was just like, oh, impending doom. It's,
The Darren Elkins fight all over again.
yeah, it's coming, and it's just like, dude. And what made it worse was, like you only needed one more round. Like you were doing so good, you were almost there. The finish line was right there. I'm pretty confident had that went to the judges the way that fight was going. Right. like, like you were right there. And just it only takes one, man. It literally only takes one. And all of your hard work and everything you did well can just get erased. Um and I guess I shouldn't have really been surprised because it's not like Emmett doesn't have power. Um, you know, he wasn't doing as good in the first two rounds, I guess, as he would have hoped. But it's not like he wasn't landing at all. He just needed to get a clean one off. And yikes. Uh, yeah.
Go back to lightweight, please, Michael Johnson. Like, no one needs this.
Yeah. I mean, because literally at featherweight, he's still the same. Nothing has changed.
He's the same dude. He just has no pop.
Right. He's the exact same guy. And, like, with less. Because he hasn't knocked anybody out at.
Well, like, his power is, like, athletic power. It's, like, he's really fast, and he hits really, like, and as a result, he kind of hits really hard. But at featherweight, like, he doesn't really have that. Like, Andre Fili was just as quick as he was. And maybe that's a product of, like, the 15-pound difference. Maybe it's a product of, just like, the drain that the extra 10 pounds puts on his body, but like he just does not have that same pop in his punches that he had when he knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. Oh boy. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But Emmett, man, he got the highlight KO. He sent Johnson to the another stratosphere. So that's how that fight went. Moving on, women's strawweight, Michelle Waterson, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I was pretty hyped to see this fight. Always down for a Waterson fight. I'm pretty big fans of both. Um, I was really impressed that like Waterson was able to just use a lot of good footwork. Like Carolina's, I feel like a volume fighter. Like if she can get into a consistent groove, you're in trouble. She starts putting those combinations together, it's probably not going to be a good night for you. And I feel like Waterson did a good job of never really giving her too many opportunities to just like really tee off. She was always moving. You know, with Waterson, a lot of kicks. In the second round, she landed that nice little, that head arm throw, dropped Carolina right on the dome. Was able to control her for the second round. Just did a really good job, I think, of just having a better like overall, more like well-rounded skill set, and was able to just use everything she had in her arsenal. Just kind of, I'm gonna say completely negate what Carolina was doing, but like minimizing it enough so that she could be more effective, and not get herself put in too many like tough spots. Oh, I forgot. Did you see this one or not? Oh, you still alive? I think I may have lost my co-host.
Oh shit! I thought everything went silent. Off.
Oh,
Like I'm still here. Like everything like, just went silent. I'm like, oh crap! Did it crash?
Oh no. Did you see the Waterson Carolina fight?
I saw parts of it. I did not see the whole thing. I, I wasn't. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of like trying to remember the fight in my head because again, I've only seen half of these fights, and I saw all of them like half of the first time I saw them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, what Water's so good. Did like a really good job getting the fight to the ground. Um, did a good job just like I don't want to say Kovacevic looked like gun shy or whatever, but like she looked like a woman who was coming off a knockout loss in ways because like that downhill momentum that she has in like previous fights where she was just like, you know what, I could throw 1-2s, I'm gonna throw them right after the other. It was just not there. Um, but like, but it, and then just an all around solid performance from Morrison. Like I wish I had more to say, but like I said, I'm blank. Like
No, I mean that's pretty much like what happened. Like Waterson just never let Carolina like Carolina was never really able to get super comfortable and like really get into a groove. Like anytime she started, she got interrupted by something. Either she got caught with an overhand right or she got taken down. She just really couldn't find any like consistency. And just good on Waterson. Just like I said, she had I think a better just overall skill set and was really able to use like every tool she had to just be more effective.
that's kind of just been like her whole run at like um strawweight since she moved up. It's just like she has to find ways to win that are more reliant on like the complete totality of her game rather than just focusing in on the fact that she's a striker.
Yeah, cause she's still like not really a straw weight.
Yeah,
like,
like I know she
I'm,
put on a whole bunch of muscle and everything, but
yeah, she gives up size to
everybody.
everybody. So her skill set, like her technique and everything, just has to be really pinpoint because luckily Carolina's not like a powerhouse, but like she's not really like a bully kind of fighter who like is like super physically imposing. But yeah, Waterson just she gives up size on pretty much anybody at strawweight. But good on her. Good, really good win. I wouldn't mind seeing her against uh, Zhang. Make that like a title. Let one of them have next up. I think they both been on pretty good runs. Uh, you know, Zhang getting the win over Torres was a big win. Michelle getting this win is a big win because yeah, I feel like everything just kind of adds up. They both just got wins over pretty like highly ranked opponents. Um, I say let them two face off for who gets who can get next crack after Andrade and Thug Rules handle their business. But
We forget Antarov and Suarez.
oh yeah, oh man, oh that makes things interesting then. Cause I
But you're gonna get things Waterson. I did say over Calvillo.
I could see that. I could see that.
It yeah. I think I want to get Calvillo to a title fight. I want the builder to win anyway.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it don't matter. Suarez about to come for all y'all. Suarez about to Habib everybody over there, and it is not gonna be pretty. But no, awesome performance from. Oh my gosh, she would tower over Waterson. Well, not like height wise, but like strength.
She might literally throw her out there.
right? Like, jeez, it was weird. Somebody had commented on Suarez on Twitter. I forgot even what the conversation was, but they had mentioned something about Suarez's size, like, "Oh, you're so much taller than everybody." She's like, "I'm only 5'5". And then I sat and thought about it. I was like, "She really only 5'5"? I don't know why for some reason on TV she looks like my height.
Well, you figure she's fighting like Carla Esparza and Botella. What's her name? No, Vivian Pereira, who are both like 5 feet and 5'1".
So she just looks like.
So she looks like she's like a literal foot taller than everybody
Right.
else.
I'm like 5'5". Like, you have to look up at me, but you could still probably throw me across the room. Jesus. No, she's a beast though, man. Yeah, she's nasty. But great win for Michelle Waterson. She got 30-27s across the board. This next fight we don't even really need to talk about. Paul Craig versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Paul Craig won via triangle choke. I don't got nothing else for you.
That heavyweight is bad, and you should feel bad.
Yeah. For as much as we praise light heavyweight recently for people like, Reyes and Santos, Smith and Walker, we get fights like this. It's just kind of like.
I mean, like, I'm totally on board with the UFC just being like, okay, here is a dude who has wins at 205 and looks like a 205er, so let's just bring him in, see how he does, right? I'm with that. You gotta do what you gotta do. Times is lean. Why put them on the part of the card that like 1.5 million people are gonna watch?
Yeah, this you could have threw this on the prelim, and any of the other prelim fights, especially the ESPN ones, probably could have replaced this.
What was the dude from the last card that we did, who was just like the 205er who legit just had no business being in the UFC?
What was his name? It's probably good that I did forget him.
The Romanian dude whose like best win was against a guy who was like 12-45.
Yeah. Wasn't that? Oh, that was the fight that when he kept grabbing. Was he grabbing a cage or something? Yeah.
He fought Safarov.
Yeah. That fight was. Yeah, not no bueno.
Yeah, like
No.
it's like that's where we're at right now, you know.
Yeah, we got reminded that 205 is still
Bad.
It's still 205. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
And like not even like Kennedy. I'm gonna butcher his last name. And Nzechukwu. Like he's 2.5 years into his career. Like obviously he'll get better. Doesn't mean he'll be, future title contender. But you hope he gets better. He grows from this and stuff like that. But like that's the other problem. Like these dudes, like they go from fighting on the regional scene where there is just nobody, and all of a sudden they're fighting like somebody who's as athletic or as big as they are. Like you're bound to get these types of performances. You feel me?
All right. And I'm just good on Paul Craig eking out another like last minute submission.
Yeah, like I'm dumping on Kennedy over here, but like he was winning most of the fight, which is not good. Like it just kind of like it just shows you like BJJ, the lowest levels of the sport is still the effing king, because if you can't like that was not a particularly advanced triangle setup. Kind of just grabbed his arm and dragged him down.
To be honest, I don't even remember.
Yeah, Kennedy just kind of just like there was like very little in the way of like I'm going to fake this way and then go for the triangle, or I'm going to secure head position. You literally just grabbed his arm and threw his leg over his head, and that was enough.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
205, gone to 205. But that was that. Yeah.
Bad excuse. And we're just lowering the bar for all these TV fights.
Hey man, I don't got nothing. No, I don't got nothing. But rounding out the main card, Sadiq Youssef and Shaman Moraes. Sadiq Youssef, prospect that a lot of people have been hype about, been keeping an eye on. I don't remember this fight in a ton of detail, but I was pretty sure this fight was going to be entertaining. You got just two dudes who are really athletic, who can throw. Basically, they just had a nice, fun kickboxing match. Both power hitters. I think Youssef rocked him at one point.
He dropped him in the third.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think Moraes went for like an elbow or something and just was not looking at Sadiq while he threw the punt while he threw, and Sadiq caught him with like an uppercut that dropped him.
yeah. It was an entertaining fight. I just don't remember it like in a ton of detail. Just two really strong athletic dudes who can just really just throw leather, and it's kind of just what they did.
The problem with Moraes is like he's really just like he is a chucker when it comes to like throwing those power shots, and it just leaves him open to get hit. Um, if you're quick enough and alert enough to dance around it. Um, I, I, sucks because I can't root for Yusuf because he's a Lloyd Irvin guy apparently, so he's dead to me.
Yeah, and to be honest, his I don't know. It's really hard for me to say what the rest of his game is. I've seen a couple of his other fights. Because featherweight is another one of those divisions. Like it's like a mini lightweight where like everybody's still really good. And I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of his game is based on like athleticism and power, and I don't know how much that's really gonna carry you.
Right,
Um,
right.
but I don't know. We'll see. He's a good fighter, but we'll just have to see how far he can really go up the ladder. But he does seem to have a lot of hype behind him as a prospect. So we'll see how that goes. But featherweight is it's nasty out there, man. It's, you know, not a great. We've seen a lot of people fall, and we don't hear from them again. So we'll see if he can keep climbing up that ladder. But that was the main card of the ESPN portion. Well, all this was ESPN except for the early prelims, but that was the main card. Moving on to the prelims, some of these we can kind of breeze through. Marina Rodriguez fought Jessica Aguilar. Um, this fight went to a decision. All you need to know is that Marina beat the brakes off of Aguilar. Like, really put on a clinic. I mean, props to Jag for like surviving, but she got beat up. Um, just a lot. Like she ate some hands and feet. She ate everything. She got beat up. Marina went out there and just put all the technical moves on her, threw all the combos. Um, it was one of them. It was a slacking. Marina put.
I feel bad for Jag just because like it's not even that she's old because even if this was like 10 years ago, her game is just outdated. And like she's not big enough and athletic enough to do any of the things she used to be able to do, like stall out fights. So like she's just like this is just a fight for her now. She's just going to go out there and continually run into younger, more athletic, more dangerous fighters and just get steamrolled like that.
Yeah. Oof. Hold on. Did she won one fight, right?
In the
In UFC?
UFC,
Yeah.
I want to.
I thought she won one.
Let me check. I might be right. Yeah, she beat Jody Escobar, who is an atom weight.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, she's 1-4 in the UFC.
Oof. Yeah. And I don't know, man. You got to think after a beating like this. I don't know how much longer she might be around. Um, it is what it is. Great on Marina though. She went out there and just threw leather and looked really good doing it. just, just relentless. She just went off. So congrats to Marina Rodriguez. She won via unanimous decision. Moving on to the lightweight division, we had Desmond Green against Ross Pearson. Pretty much what I took from this fight, and Des Green actually said it in his post fight in his corner. This is probably the most comfortable I've ever seen him look on his feet. Anybody who, if you've been following Des Green, like he fought back in Bellator, I think he was in Titan for a little bit, one of those other organizations he was in. But he is like primarily a wrestler, um, and he's struggled with like just kind of like being active and having like a lot of consistent output. and this is probably the best fight I've seen in terms of him of like actually having output. He looked pretty comfortable on his feet. He's still not like technically like the best striker on the planet, but he looked a lot better. He dropped Ross in the beginning of this fight, um, and then the one time he actually, because most of this fight took place on the feet, and then when he finally did get Ross down, he shot him for a takedown, got him against the fence, and just started blasting Ross with ground and or not even really ground and pound. He just kind of caught him against the cage and just started just hammering away at Ross until he just kind of just curled up, and that was just kind of it. Um, great performance from Desmond Green. Like I said, he looks really comfortable on his feet. I liked his offensive output, so it's good to see him like actually improving.
So we're now in the part of the card where I literally saw nothing except for the first two fights on the card. But I have to say, like, first 8 fights on the card, and the only one that is a finish is Des Green. That kind of tells me about your night. It's kind of really long.
Oh man, but no, I felt like, well, I guess that means we can kind of just breeze through these these last few. The rest of these fights actually were still, I want to say for the most part, pretty good. Kevin Aguilar, and Enrique Barzola at featherweight. That was a pretty fun back and forth fight. I thought Barzola looked really good in the first round. He had a lot of footwork, a lot of movement, but I think he kind of tired himself out. I thought he slowed down in the second and third. Aguilar was able to get off more, landed some good combinations, some good body shots. Um, I don't know. I just feel like Barzola just eventually slowed down. His output wasn't as high as what it started with, but it was still. I thought it was still a pretty good competitive fight. Um, so Aguilar defeated Barzola via unanimous decision. And shout out to Aguilar. Always root for the LFA guys, so that was awesome. Middleweight, Kevin Holland returns against Gerald Meerschaert. Not a great outing, really, from either. Holland won the fight via split decision, but Meerschaert's game plan was pretty much to take him down and submit him. And this fight was a lot of scrambling, a lot of just kind of weird, sloppy groundwork. Not super entertaining. Holland just kind of kept. You know he wanted the fight on the feet, but I felt like he just kept putting himself in bad spots, and even though he was able to get out of him, it wasn't a great showing. And he even said that like in the post fight, like it wasn't a great showing. He really wanted to stand and stand and bang. And I felt like he could have had the opportunity to do that if he just would have disengaged from some of these exchanges and just get out of there. But he just I don't know. It was a weird fight, but he won, but it wasn't like super entertaining. But that was that fight. Kevin Holland won via split decision. The early prelims, the ESPN Plus portion of the card, Casey Kenny, who we actually mentioned in the last podcast, who was a LFA flyweight and bantamweight champ, he got called over on short notice to fight Ray Borg. Um, I don't want to say controversy in this fight, but I know a lot of people were kind of split on who they thought won. In real time, I did give it to Borg. Um, After rewatching it with the volume muted, I kind of still give it to Borg, but I kind of, I guess, saw more of a case for people who thought that Casey Kenny won. It was one of those fights where a lot of this fight was just grappling exchanges, and neither of them did like a ton of like actual physical damage. It was more so better positioning, who's winning the scrambles, who's going for submission attempts. They had a couple of flurries, but I feel like that didn't really happen until like the very end of the fight. The first round was close. I think I gave the second. I don't even remember how I scored this fight, to be honest. But I think I thought Borg won, but after watching it, I guess I'm not too mad that Kenny won. Like I said, it was a competitive fight. It was just a lot of scrambles and position changes and wrestling, but nobody did enough like actual damage. I guess. I don't know. I guess that's what the judges saw. But either way, Casey Kenny won, unanimous decision. How he got a 30-27 is wild to me, though. No way he won all 3 rounds, but it is what it is at this point. So congrats to him winning his debut on short notice. You did see Marina Moroz, though, and the Sabina.
Yes, I did. Rose is tough this is a tough debut. She's tricky. She was moving up to 125 in this fight. I think it's her first fight at 125 in the UFC. And she added a whole bunch of stuff. She had the whole ground game and everything. So, or not whole ground game, but like a wrestling game. Like she just seemed like she was moving her head. She threw like she just seemed like the quicker, more like she knew what she was doing out there, and Massa was just trying to get a feel for things. Um, the third round I ended up winning that on two judges' scorecards, but like uh, Moros just was more comfortable for longer in the fight and set the pace and everything. So, yeah, no, it was an unfortunate debut for Massa, but this is something that she can. This is something she can make immediate improvements on.
Yeah, she just really just kind of got the engine started too late. Like they mentioned it in the commentary, like she gets stronger as the fight goes on, but it's only a 3 round fight, and it was like it took her till the third round to really just kind of wake up. But I got to give some of that, a lot of that credit to Morose. Like Morose stayed in her face, pushed her against the cage a lot, just never really let her get like super comfortable. And then in the third round, we finally saw Mazo, like you know, everybody, if you know Mazo, she's head kicked a couple people into another another world. She started to get the head kicks off. She started to look a bit more comfortable, but yeah, it was kind of too little, too late. Like Moreau just kind of just really put the pressure on her, really took her to her those first 2 rounds. But I'm sure we'll see Mazo back. But good wins for Moreau, so she won that unanimous decision across the board. Um, and this is the one fight that you saw that, well, I saw this fight, but I watched it like once and I don't remember it at all.
Alex Perez took down Mark De La Rosa, put him in wrestling positions, and landed some nice ground and pound and route to a 30-27 decision. Done.
There you go. That's how that went.
It sure was a card.
Yeah, that was UFC Philly. I mean overall it was cool. Like the main event, obviously crazy violence as we all were pretty sure it would be. Um, Emmett and Johnson was the ending was great. I mean, no, that was a good fight. Like Waterson, Carolina was good. Um, Marina Rodriguez put on a good performance. I like Des Green's performance. There were good moments on this card, but overall it was okay. I think the main event really kind of bolstered up the overall quality of what this card was. Like it wasn't bad, but it was cool. Like it was a card. There are fights worth watching. Um, you know, if you're a fan of any particular person, you can go back and go check this out. It wasn't like a super amazing night of fights, but like it was cool. It was a thing. I'm not gonna complain about it. I've seen many more worse cards than this. Um, like you said, I think kind of what you alluded to earlier, like the ordering of these fights was kind of weird. Like some of these main card fights probably should have been prelim fights and vice versa. Um, so that just kind of made things weird, but there were some moments that happened. It at least if nothing, check out the main card. There was some good moments. You got some finishes and just skip the 205 fight. You don't do that to yourself. Have love and respect for yourself. Don't.
I say watch it.
I'll put a watch at your own discretion.
No, watch it. It's mandatory. You don't get to watch UFC 236 unless you watch the fight.
Oh man. Oh man. But no, like it was a cool night of fights. There was some good performances. So go back and check it out if you didn't get to. But like I said, in my opinion, overall, the best card this weekend, hands down, was One Championship, A New Era. If there's anything you go watch this weekend that you didn't get a chance to, go back and watch that card. It was amazing. It was awesome. I loved every bit of it. I went back and watched a couple of fights. I'm gonna do it again tomorrow because I had a blast watching that card. And for Bellator, get him a little love. Go back and watch Brandon Gerson Sadawad. That was cool. And go back and watch Daniel Strauss. Nice feel good moment to see him come back and get a win. So a lot of fights this weekend. There was a lot going on. I didn't even mention the Ryan Garcia fight, which I didn't watch, but that was the thing that happened. I don't remember who he fought. There were a couple boxing fights this weekend, I think. But it's too late for that now. We've already talked about this fight. We're about to get out of here because it's almost 11. I'm pretty sure both of us have to wake up pretty early tomorrow.
It's only 11? God damn.
Nah. Well, 10:56, but round up. We're almost there.
No, I have to finish writing the stupid paper.
All right, yeah, we'll get out of here. But yeah, so go back and watch all those fights. Some cool things happen. So as always, close out with parting shout outs. I'll give a shout out to Derek Krantz. He's a LFA welterweight. I haven't watched a lot of his fights. I did get to see the highlight from his last one. He took somebody's soul. But he's been a prospect that I've been hearing about from LFA. And he actually will get a chance to compete on Dana White's Contender Series in the summer. So good for him. From what I've been hearing, he's been in LFA just kind of wrecking shop. So always good to see those guys, get their chance at the big stage. So shout out to Derek Krantz. Shout out to Michigan State for beating Duke. Because I don't like Duke. So when Duke loses, it's a good day for me. But they had a good tournament though. They, and I'm still looking forward to seeing Zion. I really want to see how all they do in the NBA. Zion, RJ, and Cam, and anybody else from that team. Because even as much as I hate Duke, I did go out of my way to watch them this year because that was a special team that got put together. It's not often you get like 4 of the top 5 players in the nation on like one team. So that was it was a fun ride to really watch them in March Madness. But at the end of the day, I hate Duke, so shout out to Michigan State because they got him out of here. And just, lastly, just to reiterate, man, rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to Tech 9. 2 gentlemen who were just taken way too early. Way too early. But yeah, that's all I got for parting shots and shout outs.
Crap, wait, I had one. It was on the tip of my tongue. Shouts to, I actually mentioned earlier, shouts to John Oliver, who dropped the 22-minute video on the WWE, and it's amazing. It has everything, like, if you're not a wrestling fan, it has, like, background information about, like, how the WWE was created, why it changed the name from WWF to WWE, information about Vince McMahon, and it was all in service of calling out the WWE's business practices, which are very much mirrored in the UFC. So if you're an MMA fan, go check out the video because a lot of it has to do with stuff that there's a reason we call MMA and freaking pro wrestling kissing cousins. Like, they're the same thing in this regard, anyway. So shouts to John Oliver and his amazing research team for putting that together. Don't really have a whole bunch of other like shout outs and stuff. Shouts to the young men and women who have been competing at the for the NCAA March Madness tournament. The NCAA sucks. Fuck them. Fuck them all. But it's always fun to see teams go out there and compete. Been watching the women's tournament real close because I want to know who the New York Liberty are going to draft. And even as I speak, Notre Dame just beat Stanford to clinch their spot in the Final Four. So,
hey, good job. Got my bracket going.
So, it's a good weekend for sports.
Yeah, March Madness has been awesome.
Yeah,
this has been really fun.
We get the next weekend off from MMA.
Will you?
I think so. I don't think there's anything substantial happening.
When's the pay-per-view?
Week after.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I didn't know we had a break.
There's also one card that week. Martin Wynn's gonna fight Dudumba.
Alright, I was gonna say they wore out all their stars this week. I was like, who they got left? They threw everybody on this card. But no, that'll be cool. So I don't know. Maybe you guys will hear from us next week. I didn't know we had a break. But sometimes we do just take breaks because we don't get them often. So I don't know. There may be an episode. There might not be. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anywho, man, that's pretty much it for this episode of the Dodo Talk podcast. As always, man, give us a listen. SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Google Play. Send questions to dodotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. Follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. And you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter @SerialSensei. And as always, anytime people are being punched and or kicked in the face, we will be there to talk about it. And until next time, we will catch you guys later.